Okay, folks, we are starting a new, I should say my wife is starting a new batch of wine. We haven't done any in a while, but this is something that she's wanted to try. As you can see, she's got this 3-gallon carboy here, and she has filled it with, let me see what we got over here. She keeps a log here. 3 bottles of citrus mango pineapple with 2 bottles of white grape peach juice. So it's going to be an interesting combination. This is a new experiment. She's never tried this kind before. So the first step is to clean the carboy out, disinfect it, and then put the juice in. She's got a stopper in here, but she's going to be putting, go ahead.
To measure the sugar content of the juices.
Okay, so she's got to get what, the specific gravity?
Yes.
The specific gravity of the sugar content of the juices to see how much more sugar she needs to put in. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Alright, this little tool here is called a hydrometer. That's what my wife uses to measure the specific gravity of what is in the mixture. At this point it came out at, I don't know all the chemistry here, it says 15 Brix, or it would produce what it would produce when fermented would be 8% alcohol.
It's no sugar added.
That's with no sugar added. Now she'll add some sugar to increase the potential alcohol content. Usually with wine you want what, 10 to 12%?
I usually add 1 cup of sugar per quart.
1 cup of sugar per quart of the mixture to increase the specific gravity and therefore the alcohol potential.
So that's 2.5 gallons, 4 quarts in a gallon, so it'd be about 10 cups of sugar.
So 10, you didn't know there was that much sugar involved in winemaking.
There's a lot of sugar in wine.
And remember, all that sugar is going to convert to...
Well, no, I don't want it to all convert to alcohol because it'll be a very dry wine if it does.
Okay, so you keep some of the sugar in.
Yes, and I have to stop the process a few weeks into it so that it won't continue to change the sugar to alcohol.
Okay, yeah, the fermentation changes the sugar to alcohol, and there's a device she puts on the top of the carboy that helps that work too. So we'll get to that, but right now she's got to add, what'd you say, 10 cups of sugar?
10
cups of sugar to this 2.5 gallons here. So we'll come back. Okay, my wife has added the 10 cups of sugar to the carboy here. What she's done is using this thingy.
I had to stir it in really, really well.
Okay, yes, everything is stirred well, and she extracted some out and put it in this little testing tube here that's inside the canning jar.
The stirring process is very important because if you don't stir the sugar in, it won't ferment properly. It has to be well stirred in. It has to be in solution before you measure your specific gravity again.
Okay, so you don't want any on the bottom. In other words, everything has to be mixed up.
Everything has to be in.
So what she's going to do now is take the hygrometer and dip it in there and see where it floats. And that will give her a number. Now she's already done this, so I can tell you what it is.
The number I got was 31 Brix.
31 Brix.
Which is about a 1.126 specific gravity.
Okay,
which will yield about a 16.5% alcohol content if I let it go to completion. But if I do, it'll be very, very dry, and it probably won't taste very good. So I will probably stop the process at about 11%.
So in other words, as the sugar ferments to alcohol, if she just let it completely ferment to change all that sugar to alcohol, she'd have very dry wine that was like 16.5% alcohol.
Minus the original, which is an 8. So actually right now it would be about 8%. Something in there.
Okay.
I go by
So
taste.
what she'll do is, as this ferments, and about how many weeks will this take to go through the
It's going to take probably a good couple months.
Okay, a couple months of slow fermentation for the sugar to convert to alcohol. And then she'll test again using the hygrometer, and when it gets to about the 10 or 11% alcohol content, then she will stop the fermentation process, and that will give us close to the final product. So this is the early phase of winemaking. Just wanted to give you this. We've already shown you the end phase.
I have to add the yeast. We can't make wine without yeast.
Oh yes, we almost forgot that. Yeah, to start the fermentation. The yeast is what helps convert the sugar to alcohol.
About a half a teaspoon.
And that's a specialized yeast, right?
Yes.
It's not the same stuff you use for bread.
No,
So a half a teaspoon of yeast gets added to there as the,
you don't stir it. The yeast will figure it out itself.
okay, as you can see, it's spreading out. And that's your catalyst, your agent to cause the fermentation
Well,
process.
the yeast are live, and they do the fermentation.
Okay. Lots of chemistry involved in winemaking. So at any rate, so that's in there. And then you just have to put
Airlock.
the airlock on the top so that the gases can escape while the fermentation happens. But of course you don't want that to be open so that any kind of contamination could get into the wine. So what she's doing here is she's preparing the airlock, which is basically a set of tubes with some water in it. And that goes on top of the cork, like that. And that as it ferments, then the gas comes up the tube here and it bubbles, and eventually it comes out the top. Is that right?
Yes, and the amount of space in here is important because the initial fermentation will cause a lot of bubbling.
So you don't want this to be overfilled, is what you're
Right.
saying.
Wait, I have to put this back in.
Okay. Oh yeah. Don't forget what you took out. And then that basically is ready to start fermenting. You're all done with the preparation phase.
As long as these levels are not even, you know you have a good seal. If those levels are even, the seal is not good.
Okay. So we're good to go.
That's it.
And then chemistry and nature does the rest.
It takes about 15-20 minutes, maybe half an hour, depending on how slow I am, to prepare a batch of wine.
Okay.
And the rest is babysitting.
All right. So we'll give you an update on this as this gets closer. And I don't know if she's picked a name out yet for this type of wine, what she's going to call it, but because it's multiple juices in it, but we'll see. At any rate, we'll have further updates when the process continues on, but this is a brand new batch of wine that's just been started. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel. Okay, folks, one more point to bring out about this. Sorry about the mess here. This is part of my living room remodel, but we're setting this in here because the fermentation process needs a temperature of about 70 degrees to be optimal. If we, yeah, we're keeping the dust off of it that way. If you put it in a place where it's too cold, it'll ferment too slowly. If it's too hot, it'll ferment too quickly. So where we had it out in the kitchen, the temperature's in the 60s there. It's a little cool. It's a little warmer in here than perhaps it needs to be because it's the room where the wood stove is, but it'll be consistently warm in here through this process. So, and yet even in the summertime when we're doing it, it doesn't get too hot in here. So this is the best room in the house to do that. So you want to get temperature of approximately 70 degrees to have optimum rate of fermentation. At least this is what she's telling me. So she's the expert on the wine. I'm just reporting. Again, thank you for watching, and please subscribe.